Notable mentions. U.S. Congress is considering a blockchain-based voting for senators to vote while they are in isolation. Currently our current legislative system requires that senators be there physically and present. There are in absentia ballots that can be submitted. However, they're talking about building a blockchain-based solution so that all of our congressional votes can be done on the blockchain, which I think is overall a pretty good push. Again, the whole concept, blockchain is being utilized. We've covered supply chains. We've covered how blockchain can be utilized in global business solutions. And of course, blockchain is the wave of the future. So regardless of how you feel about Bitcoin, or how you feel about the blockchain Bitcoin debate, like blockchain's bad, but Bitcoin is good because it's on a blockchain, but it's a sound monetary system. Listen, you have to understand that all of the blockchain innovation that's going on, like corporations aren't going to go away when Bitcoin takes over the monetary supply, right? Bitcoin was not created to solve social justice ideas of what companies should and should not do, right? Remember that. There's a lot of individuals who have confused what I would call social liberalism or kind of pushing toward democratic socialism, right? And again, correct me if I get some of these terms wrong. This is just what makes sense in my head. But this kind of anti-business sentiment, and maybe they're right. I'm sure there are some good points for the Occupy Wall Street protesters and kind of the whole sentiment that's followed and become popular in American sentiment ever since that, right? There are some significant issues with the way, and my argumentation is that it is an influence of the state because the state highly regulates not only the financial sector and the business sectors and the economy. Because of that regulation from the state, because of that command and control, non-incentivization to build good products and services, because the free market has that incentive to build good products and services. So I think that this idea of crony capitalism doesn't actually exist. There's, the idea of capitalism is just capitalism. Crony capitalism, as it's conceptualized, exists because of the influence of the state on the economy, because the state has the ability to create these, well, we got this special deal with you, and we got this special deal with you, and normal people can't get access to this deal, but you're our homie over there, Bill Gates. Come on in, man. So crony capitalism exists because of regulation by the state of the economy. Increasing regulation by the state will result in more crony capitalism that people like to whine and complain about. Decentralizing the monetary supply and getting government out of the marketplace, out of most things that affect us financially, does increase human liberty. And yes, does set up the stage where, guess what? Bad things can happen because sometimes Walmart gets some stuff wrong, right? And sometimes a manufacturer in China is not vetted good enough. And sometimes something bad gets into the food. Sometimes something bad gets into the powdered milk. Sometimes some of those bikes that you buy at the store are broken. Sometimes, the car part that you order doesn't work quite right. But guess what? Overall, when you go to the store, in America, you have a very, and most places around the world, you have a very high level of confidence that you're going to buy the product that you need, that it's going to work, and you're going to be able to just buy it, go home, and go on with your own life. And you're improved, your life is improved, and the business is improved, and all the employees and everything else, and the economy and the world. You do not need an authoritarian state regulating the economy, regulating society. And I feel, unfortunately, I think that we have created this trend of individuals pushing for more regulation to get away from the behavior that they are upset about, right? But more regulation by the state will not improve things. It will make things worse. However, having said that, going back to the original point, Bitcoin was not created to resolve those issues. Bitcoin was created to resolve the issue of what I just brought up, which is having a cartel of central banks dominate the monetary supply, right? With discretion, which is not what we want. We want a fair, honest, decentralized, technical monetary system that we can build sound economies on that rewards savers and forward thinkers and not debt-based societies and debt-based abusers, which nations and central banks are the worst offenders of, being debt abusers. So remember that. Bitcoin is being applied, I think, to resolve the central banking cartel, which allows manipulative statism in the first place, manipulative state control of the economy, and control of the free market by a command and control top-down form of government, right? Which is not good, not necessary, and not what we have built, sacrificed, and fought for thousands of years now, as the march of progress, human progress, is just keep going forward and forward and forward, to take a back step now because we want the government to come in and protect us because we don't like what Walmart does sometimes. So this is pretty cool. Obviously, they brought up like one main point here, which is that they're concerned about like 51% attacks. Like, yeah, like build a good blockchain, right? Yeah. Pretty simple. Maybe use Algorand. Maybe Algorand would be a good choice for voting for the government. I guess. Oh man, they're gonna get me now. They're listening. GPS on my phone. All right, 11, and this comes following 11 members of Congress from the blockchain coalition generally, but some others, urged Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary of the United States, to use blockchain for COVID-19 stimulus payments. And this is following what we covered not too long ago with, I'm going to forget his name. What's his name? Brian Brooks. Sorry, forgot his name there for a second. But Brian Brooks, this follows Brian Brooks being appointed to Officer of the Comptroller of the Currency here in the United States. And he is a strong advocate for a digital dollar, right? So we want to be aware of this. We want to be concerned about this because we've talked about the dangers of central bank digital currency and the fact that they will not be censorship resistant and the fact that they will essentially allow the central bank utilizing a non-sound monetary system, which is fiat currency, to really have all of the data, all of your financial decisions right now. And again, this is going back to the overall argument of statism versus non-statism. You know, right now, as much as it sucks, as much as banking is corrupt, you still have this buffer of commercial banks in between you and the central bank, i.e. government. Central bank / government, really one entity. They tell you it's two, it's not. Okay. You have this buffer of commercial banks, which are like mostly free market, quasi crony capitalism, right? Because they got the sweet deals with the central bank and everything, right? You know, a digital dollar quickly diminishes the incentive or really the purpose, in my opinion, of having these commercial banks stand in between you and the central bank because everything's on this one centralized ledger and database. They don't need the commercial banks to, you know, provide interest. They might keep them up as like shell companies to keep the appearance. The financial sector is, you know, decentralized to a degree or not located in one source, one bank. Lip service the idea that they don't want that. But in reality, that's absolutely what they want. They want one place, one database, one record. We don't like you. Boom. You cannot donate to Trump anymore. We don't like you. Boom. You can't donate to Joe Biden anymore. So we want to get away from this. And although the current system certainly sucks, having commercial banks as a buffer in between the interests of the state and having to contend with the interests of Citi and Chase is still better than having to contend with an all-powerful authoritarian government, which, by the way, has control of the military and with a digital dollar, the finances. So be warned, CBDCs, big danger. So is this going to happen? No. Is it neat that they're talking about it and that we're getting more senators in there? Yes. And the other thing, too, is like, keep in mind, guys, I know that some people are going to like hearing this, right? But the reality exists. We do live in a representative democracy. I'm trying to pick my words carefully here, where we nominate legislators to speak on our behalf as citizens and make policy. OK, and we are a republic. You know, I see people all the time falling into this false narrative, this false idea. And of course, I'm an American, so I'm speaking with an American bias here. That we can't change anything, right? That the government's just going to do what it's going to do. And Bill Gates is going to put all these vaccines in us, bro. And we're doomed. And the aliens are going to come down. And the black hole's going to open up. And Mars is going to crash into the earth. And we're all dead. No, man. No. We're alive. We're here. We're going to fight. We're going to beat these people down. We're going to build the society that we want. We're going to elect the right people into government. We're going to figure out the better form of of governance. We're going to spread Bitcoin or the best monetary system. We're going to figure out the problems with economics. We're going to have a more just justice system and legal system and social system. And we're going to figure out, right, international politics. We're going to figure out international tensions. We're going to figure out the best way to structure society. We're going to get off the earth. We're going to populate across the stars. We are going to do these things, right? Let's be long-term bullish on humanity, okay? Be long-term bullish on humanity. But again, as I always say, with a limit order, right? Because, you know, you don't want to just market into humanity.